Hello, the Divine Code reading for October 4th, pages 237 and 238. We're in the chapter, The Prohibition Against Aiding Idol Worshippers. Topic number 3. It is always forbidden to sell items that are directly connected to a type of idolatry. If they are sold to an idolater who practices that type of idolatry, or it is in a place where that type of idolatry is practiced. So if we have an item that's used for a particular type of idolatry, we have frogs, idolatry for people that worship statues of frogs, and they have flies, a particular species of flies that are sacrificed to the frogs. If a store, it would be forbidden to sell that species of flies, that particular species of flies that are sacrificed to the frogs, either to a person that worships the frogs or just in that general area where it's known that people worship the frogs. So we would not be allowed to sell the items that are used by the idolaters in that area. And it's even more so if it's known that the person worships that particular idol that uses the item. Items that are not directly connected to idolatry may be sold to idolaters. So if there's other uses for the flies, one use might be to sacrifice the idols, but they also use other uses for these flies, then it might be okay to sell it. But if an idolater explains that he wants such an item for use in his idolatrous practices, it is forbidden to sell it to him, unless it is too unfit to be offered to the idol. Since idolaters place a limit on how defective an item can be for their services to the idols. So if the person selling flies in a town where idolaters use the flies in service to their idol, if the customer comes in and says he's going to use the flies in the service to the idol, then it's forbidden to sell it to him. But if the fly has, let's say you got flies with a bunch of defective wings, there's a whole batch of flies that have defective wings. The defective wings mean that they cannot be used for the idolatry, then it's okay to sell it even to the idol worshiper. If a customer wishes to purchase a bulk of mundane merchandise in order to sell part of it to others, it is permitted to sell the merchandise to him, even though the others might want such items for use in idolatrous practices. So if the person is selling wholesale, he's not selling it directly to the idol worshippers. He's selling it on a wholesale market, and these are mundane items. So we don't know. It's just flies are part of the guy's in the insect business, and flies are one of the items that he sells. And if he's going to sell a stock of items to the local insect store, and flies are part of the order, he's okay to sell it because he doesn't know for a fact that the flies are going to be used for idolatry. They could be used for other things. Selling to lizards or something, I don't know. Or to be fed to pet lizards. If items connected to idolatry got mixed up with items that are not, for example, pure frankincense got mixed up with black frankincense, in a community where pure frankincense is burned for idols, then one may sell the whole lot as one unit to idolaters without investigating what they will use it. What use they will have for it. If one does not have to worry that they will separate the items which they accept for idolatry from the items they will reject for that use. See Rambam, Laws of the Worship of Stars and Idols, Chapter 9, Shulchan Aruch Yeridea, Chapter 151. So there's a box of mixed insects. Some of those insects might be used for idolatry, but there's a box of mixed insects, and it's just going to sell it as a box. He would be permitted to do that as such. However, if the idol worshiper specifies that he agrees to purchase the whole lot because he will trouble himself to separate that which is fit for idolatry, or if he cunningly mixes the items he will be used for idolatry with similar items that will not be used for that purpose, it is forbidden to sell the items to him if his intentions are clear. So it's sort of a don't ask, don't tell halakha here. If it's a mixed batch of items, some of the items are idolatrous, some are not. If nobody says anything, then it's okay to sell the batch. It's okay to sell the mixed batch. So they got one species of flies, and they also got grasshoppers. They got all sorts of different insects in this box. If the idolater says something that he's going to go through the trouble of separating it out, or I might add to what's being said here, if it's known that the idolater is going to do that, if we know what the idolater is going to use this for, this is what a lot of it comes down to. If we know what the idolater is going to do, and he's going to use it for the purpose of serving his idol with the objects, then it's forbidden to sell. If it's not known, then it's not forbidden to sell. It's permitted to sell. See Shulchan Aruch Yeridea 151:2. Some say that if an idol worshiper would be able to buy the merchandise on the same quality and price as from other merchants, there's no prohibition against selling to him, since he can always, anyway, easily buy from others as well. See Rima Shulchan Aruch Yeridea 151 and Shach Yeridea 151:6, who say that there is no prohibition against placing a stumbling block before the blind in such case, and the prohibition only applies if it is impossible for the worshiper to procure it in another way. So the term is the other, the side of the river. If the merchant is the only person easily accessible, he's on one side of the river. He's the only merchant on that side of the river that sells these its responsibility is on him not to sell items to the idol worshippers that might be used by the idol worshippers. If the store is on the other side of the river, it's a big hassle to cross. This was in the old days. If it's a big hassle to cross to the other side of the river, then he's responsible because he's the one place where the idol worshiper can go to buy these items. If there's a bunch of other stores on his side of the river, so the idol worshiper is going to go here, it's going to go there. It doesn't matter to the idol worshiper which store he goes to, or it's not a major significance. Then the prohibition of not aiding an idol worshiper would not apply to this merchant, and he would be permitted to sell the merchandise. And the Divine Code uses the term "some say," so you can go one way or another about that. It may be best not to sell the items, but it's not a clear prohibition. Topic number 4. It is forbidden to join with idolaters in building a structure in which they will place their idols. So to be involved with building a building. Let's say the guy's a plumber, and he's being contracted to build an idolatrous building. That would be a concern. Or if he's a real estate developer or something to that like. Or if he's the neighbor, and together, you know, they're going to build a temple next to him, an idolatrous structure next to him, and they need his cooperation to do the building. That would be prohibited. One may, however, from the onset, construct a mundane building or courtyard that will contain such a structure. Rambam, The Laws of the Worship of Stars and Idols, chapter 9. So it's a mundane building, means it's not a building dedicated to the idolatry, but it will contain idolatry within it. That might be permitted. It has been explained in chapter 5 that it is forbidden to build a statue or temple of idol worship, or anything necessary for idolatry. But if one transgressed and built it for idolaters, one may nevertheless use the payment he received for the work. Shulchan Aruch Yeridea, chapter 143, and this is a case. This would be similar to like grafting a fruit tree. If a person is prohibited from grafting a fruit tree, but afterwards they can eat the fruit from the fruit tree, that this would be a similar thing. So the person did not, you know, did something he wasn't supposed to do. He took the contract to help build this building. He's allowed to use the money. It's not that level of strictness here, but he still should not do it to begin with. The difference between a mundane building or courtyard and a house of idol worshippers, that a mundane building, a mundane structure, is a place that is not designated solely for idol worship, and therefore it is permitted to be built. But the house of idol worship is solely dedicated for idolatry. So if the person's building a building, one floor, the ground floor is going to have a house of idol worshippers, and then above that it's going to be apartments or office or something like that. It's permitted to have a mixed building, but it's not permitted to build something that's solely for the idol worship. Topic number 5. If one's house is built next to a house of idol worship with a shared wall, and the shared wall falls down, he should not rebuild the wall on his own, for the house of idol worship will benefit freely from his effort and expense. Instead, he should collect his wages from them in payment for the part of his work that they will benefit from. Shulchan Aruch Yeridea 143:1. It appears that as a Gentile, this person is permitted to do what he needs for himself in fixing the wall, and he is not benefiting the idol worshippers for free. Afterwards, it is not forbidden for him to benefit from the repaired wall, even though it is also benefiting the idol worshippers as a matter of course. Now, as we're talking about buildings, we're not talking about yards. A wall separating 2 yards may be more lenient. I would assume from this it's talking about a shared wall that is, they have a building on either side, that the wall is part of the building. Now, normally today you would have a building, you'd have walls with maybe a gap of a couple inches between buildings. But what they're talking about here would be a case where there's one wall, a structurally significant wall, that both buildings are built off of. And therefore, if one side of it fell, it would be necessary to repair it in order to repair the building. Thank you.